All right, quarterbacks, let's get started. We're going to talk this week about how important our progressions are and how our progressions come before coverage. Now, that is not something that you'll hear from a lot of people, but I will tell you that with the amount of matching coverage that's out there, it is necessary to put the progressions ahead of the coverage. And what do I mean by that? Well, let's say that I have a slant and an arrow concept, right? And let's say that we know that they're in some kind of a quarters matching coverage. That would put this cornerback in MOD on the Z, man out and deep. He's going to carry this, and then nickel Sam and free safety are on a two read on the Y. Now we know that, but if this Y goes out into the flat and nickel Sam doesn't take him, we must throw it, despite the fact that this is quarters coverage and we're anticipating him jumping that. If he doesn't jump it, we can't, throw it. Right. So we want to make sure that we are going through our progression. The progression here would be the arrow first to the slant. Okay. So that's what I mean. And I'm going to back up and talk a little bit about the coverages too. We're going to review those. And then we're going to get into some of the different progressions and how important it is for you to know what your progressions are. Like, you just can't look at a play and not know where you're going first, second, and third. You have to program that into your brain and be ready to react to one, two, and three, or to your alert, right? It is a programmed reaction. Okay, so let's talk a little bit first about zone coverage. As a quick review, our zone coverage indicators are when we have an apex linebacker defender. This is nickel Sam or the Sam. When they split the difference, that's telling us it's zone. When these guys are outside to head up, that could be in a zone indicator. Zone coverages drop to areas and locations. You can get an inside technique these days, and they can play zone there that way. Okay, it's possible they zone turn, meaning they turn to the inside and just kind of run out of there, right? So let's talk about the coverages. Cover two would be when both safeties get wide, right? When both safeties get wide here, they do half the field. That tells us that these guys rotate up, right? Feeding the outside receivers to the inside. Okay, so that's one, right? That's cover two, right? Too deep. If we get any kind of rotation like this, known in zone, that's cover three, three deep. Okay. If we get a situation where we have the safety stay narrow like this, that is four deep, and that tells us that the corners have deep responsibility, right? So we're going to throw away from where the defense is, right? That's the real goal here is where is the defense, and we have to know what they're doing, but then we have to throw into the open areas. And then finally cover six, where cover six is basically a cover two to a side. You can see this is a half field safety here with an outside technique corner, right? That's the cover two piece. And then these guys have cover four principles, right? So it's 2 plus 4 equals 6, right? And that's where we get the cover 6 from. So when we get man, like all this changes, right? So in man to man, we get these inside eye techniques, right? They come on down. Everything gets flat, right? I mean, everything gets flat. We get stacked relationships like this. And these stacked relationships tell us a couple things. Number one, if a linebacker dogs, right, then the safety is going to be taking um, the man-to-man responsibility behind him, right? That's what stacked relationships are. They can come from all kinds of different places. If I want to bring this corner, they can have a stacked relationship there. If I want to bring nickel Sam, stacked relationship there. Typically, they're closer than they normally would be if they weren't playing man. Can you do it from 10 yards away? Yeah, you can do it from 10 yards away, but you're giving up a lot, right? If I bring nickel Sam and this free safety is now man to man and cover zero on the Y, and I throw a hitch, a slant, an arrow, a bubble, or something like that, there's no way that this guy can actually defend that, right? He's going to have to come up and try to make a tackle in space, right? So he's not really taking anything away, but they can still play man from there. So cover zero would be some form of, dogs with man to man with the safeties behind like that. So that's cover zero. It's man to man everywhere with zero guys deep. All right. If for whatever reason we didn't bring the will, okay, and the rover safety went back into the middle of the field. And I'll give you the whole scenario here. Here's my stacked relationship. They bring Nickel Sam. We're man to man everywhere with one guy deep. That is cover one, right? And that can happen with one robber, one rat, one zone. Those are all the same as you recall, right? And then two man is nothing more than two deep safeties with man to man across the board. Okay, so let's get into split field coverage. The nomenclature here is actually for split field coverage. I want to just go over that very quickly. So we're looking at a 2-by-2 situation, and we're talking about matching, right? So it's important. We're going to be in a 4-2-5 look. We have a nickel Sam in the game. We're in a 2-by-2 formation, okay? And we're going to talk about quarters coverage. Quarters, the word quarters for us essentially is for a two read, right? So there's number two. The nickel Sam and the free safety have a two read on Y. If Y goes out, nickel Sam takes him. Y goes vertical, free safety takes him. And then once that happens, the nickel Sam would look for number three. Okay, so the free safety and nickel Sam travel to the read side. Okay, that's the strong passing side, and they work together here on the two read. Okay, when we get into trips, okay, when we get into trips like this, and I'll adjust this, the quarters coverage, all right, turns into mix, and that's why I have it here. Quarters turns into mix in a 3-by-1. Okay, so what does that essentially mean? I mean, the only thing the real difference is instead of this being MOD, right, man out and deep, this becomes MEG, Meg. And when we get Meg, we just cross this guy off, and this is a new number one, and this is a new number two. There's my two read. Here's my nickel Sam and free safety on him. He goes vertical, he takes him. He goes out, he takes him, and then this guy gets taken by the free safety. So it is a matching coverage. They match with the player that comes into their location, right? On the release, they read the release and they match. Okay, so quarters turns into mix. Mix crosses off number one entirely, and we still have nickel Sam in the free safety in the combination. Okay, so that's that. If we were, let's go back to Palms coverage, right? Palms coverage is different. It's a two read, but the two read is between the free safety and the corner, right? So now the big difference is, okay, if the Y goes vertical, yep, free safety matches, and then this guy matches Z, right? Okay, if the Y runs a bubble, right, the the corner or an arrow or some kind of like little out here, the corner is going to match him, and that's going to turn the Z loose to the free safety, and he's going to match him. That's all it is. So they're reading the two release. If two goes vertical, they match a certain way. If two goes out, they match a certain way. That is the whole thing. That is Palms. Okay. So it's not, black magic. It's not, dark secrets. It's literally, if he goes out, you got him. If he goes up, you got him. Okay. That's all matching is. It ends up being man to man. So Palms reverts to this thing called solo, and it's important for you guys to understand this. So we go here, and solo, all right, is different than mix. Okay. Solo actually borrows the backside rover safety to take number three vertical. Why? Well, because here's number two, right? Here's number two. If number two goes vertical, of course, the free safety matches and then the corner matches Z. If number two goes out, the corner matches and then the free safety matches number one, but who would be responsible for carrying this guy down the field, right? It can't be Nickel Sam. That's a bad match. So they borrow the rover, to essentially get help on number three. Okay, but it's matching. It's all it is, and the result of that is we get essentially we get this we get man to man over here, right? Straight man, and that's a good place to work, right? If we're quarterbacks looking to throw completions, that's a place to go, right? Okay, so palms reverts to solo. Okay, palms reverts to solo. Now I wrote it up here so that we remember it that way. Quarters reverts to mix, and that's nickel Sam free safety. And palms reverts to solo, and that's free safety in the corner. Okay? All right, so let's talk about progressions. I mean, that's really why we're here today. So the progressions are important. So you need to know what your progressions are. So let's talk about a couple here. Let's say I've got this situation, curl and arrow, right? We call this Texas. Well, the progression is H is the alert. If there would be a reason to throw to H, we can do it, right? If there's an alert there, if someone falls down, this guy's wide open, throw it to him, right? This guy's out of position, we want to throw it to him. We want to alert that, right? But if that's not there, we're going to go one here, throw that arrow route to two, 1 to 2. Okay. So you got to know that. And if I don't care if it's palms, if it's solo, if it's mix, it doesn't matter. If nobody takes this guy in the flat, you throw it out there. That's the job of the quarterback, right? That's your job. And that's what I want to burn into you guys this week is look at I don't care what the coverage is. If your first progression is open, throw it to them. Like don't wait. There's no reason to wait. I'll give you another one. Let's go here. Let's go slant, right? We got these a couple slants here with a bubble, let's say, bubble by number three. I don't really care what the coverage is. I don't care what the matching is, what's happening. What matters most is if no one takes Y, you throw it to him. And if like he's number one, all right, he's our number one, and number two is right there. And then number three is right there. So the second that if Nickel Sam doesn't take him, right? If Nickel Sam, let's say he doesn't do that, we throw it. Now you have to be aware of the alignments, right? If the corner is pressed here and outside, then there is a chance, right, that he could really jump that, right? And we have to be ready for that. He's the flat defender in palms. But if we get to like an inside technique quarters look like this, it'd be mix like this, okay? See how that changes things? See, that's mix right there, okay? That's the mix look. Remember, we're crossing out the Z. This is the number two guy here, right? He goes out. If Nickel Sam does not stop this, you throw it. If Nickel Sam goes back this way, you throw to Y. Nickel Sam comes up. Now we're throwing to number two here, right? We're throwing to him. Okay, and that's the way you got to think of this. The progression is more important than what the coverage is. I don't want you guys sitting in the pocket trying to have a dissertation about whether who matched who. Who cares? Just throw the open guy, right? Throw the open guy. Throw completions. Don't try to be perfect. Throw completions. Let's look at flood here. All right, let's look at flood. And so the old flood concept it's a good one, and it works every time. So there, let's go. We have the takeoff here, right? We have the 10-yard out or the sail route, and then we have the immediate arrow, right? And so look at, I mean, I don't know whether it's going to be solo or mix, or cover four or cover three or cover two. I have no idea, right? And you may not be able to decipher it in a split second what they're doing, right? But that doesn't really matter. What matters is, who's taking this away. Is anyone taking this away? Then if they're not taking this away, you throw to Y, right? If somebody comes up and takes that away, okay, then we're looking to number two in our progression, right? That's it. And if it's not there by that time, you're probably running it or throwing away, right? And remember, the takeoff, the go route is simply alert, right? If this guy falls down or something happens and he gets down the rail, you can always throw it to him. So the progression of what you're doing matters more than deciphering the coverage. I'm telling you right now, there's going to be times when you're playing quarterback that you do not know what the coverage is. You might have some idea, you think you might know what it is, it might be man or zone or whatever, but you're not going to be definitive on it. You won't really know it. So, what is your rule? Well, I'm going to go through my progression no matter what. And I don't care whether it's cover two, I don't care if it's quarters, I don't care if it's cover four, cover six, cover one. It does not matter. Where's my progression? And then we're gonna operate that way. Let me do one more here. Let's just take mesh for example. All right, and I'll leave this bubble in place. But remember, mesh is one of those plays where we have an over the top guy and we have an underneath player, and the underneath guy is the primary. Okay, so we're trying to get the ball to H here, and then let's say we do like a post curl here just to give you a second window to throw to. All right, some people might run a dig here, whatever. I mean, just something that sits in this window here that the quarterback's looking at, 1 to 2, right? So if we're in a situation where, we're going back, we're dropping back, we're looking right there, right? That's where we're looking, right there to right there, 1 to 2. Now, are there other parts of this? Can you come back and throw over here? If it's straight cover zero and they're bringing linebackers, it's possible, yes. But you can't see this and this at the same time because you only have one set of eyes, right? So you have to know where to look. This is 1 to 2. And then if that's not there, if you don't have a back or someone else that's in a check down position, right? You can then improvise and get to maybe 3 or 4 over here. But listen, that doesn't happen much, right? Just being honest, right? So knowing where to go on your progression is everything, And the coverage itself is secondary because you may be anticipating them taking something away, and then what if they don't take it away? What do you do? Well, if you would have concentrated on your progression, you'd have thrown it immediately. And that's what we want. We want you to throw the ball immediately when your progressions are open.